Forth it all and burns for you. Your affliction upon her will soon be erased. The mother soul must remain.
Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video talking about this build that I've been working on for the majority of this season. I don't normally make YouTube videos, but I've been having so much fun on this build that I just kind of wanted to share it. So this is kind of a showcase, but I'm also doing it as a build guide if you guys are interested in trying it out. I'll also include a written guide in the description, so if you're interested, just want to see the skill gems and skill tree and all that stuff, you can go ahead and check that out. But I'll kind of break everything down here as well. So this is a blood mage, obviously. Kind of a higher spirit blood mage, so I'm using multiple meta skills. The way the build works is we self-cast Spark, and then Spark triggers our cast on crit comets, and then also generates energy for elemental invocation. So go ahead and getting into the skill gems. Like I said, Spark, my main self-cast ability. We've got that paired with Atalui's Bloodletting to convert, to get a lot of gain as extra physical damage per 10 life costs. We have a high life cost here since we're scaled levels really high, and then all these skill gems have mana or cost multipliers on them, which boosts their costs and boosts our damage through Atalui's Bloodletting. We get a huge damage increase from this, like 70k to 472k. We've also got projectile acceleration, mobility, which I really need for movement speed while casting. Feels really nice to have this on there. Embitter, which converts all of our gain as extra physical damage into cold damage. And that turns Spark into a cold skill. Spark is almost exclusively cold damage, as you can see here. Very little lightning damage by comparison. So Spark is going to be freezing enemies pretty regularly, which is going to really help with elemental invocation. And then I've also got Unleash on here for the big cost multiplier and damage boost that gives as well. Frostwall I've got on here mainly as a bossing ability. I throw this down right as a boss is spawning in, and when those cast Frostwall, hit it with a Spark, and all those walls are going to explode. The overlap between them is going to hit the boss a bunch of times, create a bunch of crits, and lead to a bunch of Comet triggers. Basically, as you saw from the intro, basically wiping the boss out instantly. I've also got this paired with Considered Casting for extra damage. Spell Cascade for more Frost Walls. Cooldown Recovery 2 for better cooldown. Efficiency to reduce its costs. And Magnified Area to help with more explosion overlaps. Got Frost Bomb on here as well. Frost Bomb, I don't use this all that often, but you can use this to get more elemental infusions. You can also use it to lower boss resistances. I have a lot of elemental cold resistance penetration on this build from my jewels, so I don't really need this for the exposure, but it is nice for infusions to use that occasionally, and I'll usually drop it before a boss fight to gain some infusions before the boss fight starts, just boost my damage a little bit more. I've got this paired with Short Fuse to reduce its cast time, so as you can see, it goes off like right away, and I get those infusions. And as you can see, I'm getting fire infusions as well, which I'll talk about in a minute here. So Frostbomb, Short Fuse, Spell Echo, so it goes off twice. As you can see, I got 2 infusions casting at one time. Cooldown Recovery, Overabundance, so I can have 2 Frostbombs out at once. And Second Wind, so I can cast it 2 times in a row. Okay, Cast on Crit. This is going to be... we're going to have Comet slotted in here to, this is going to be our main, bossing killer. Provides us a ton of damage because we can get a lot of cast on crit Comet triggers, triggering a ton of comets coming down. You'll see it kick in when you kill rares too. When you fight rares and bosses, you'll just get tons and tons of comets dropping. I've got this slotted in with Diala's Desire. That gives both Comet and Cast on Crit another level. I've got it slotted in with, it also gives 10% to quality of skills, which helps Comet repeat more. So extra quality to Comet causes it to have a higher chance to repeat. So that's really nice to have that extra 10% here. And then we also get extra reservation efficiency from the quality on Cast on Crit, which is nice. Then I've got it slotted with Energy Retention and Boundless Energy to help get more Comet triggers, and Spell Cascade so that it drops 3 Comets at once instead of just 1 for every trigger. This is really nice for mapping, and you honestly don't need to swap this out for bossing because you can swap in Concentrated Area and it boosts the damage a lot. So if I look at the damage here, Comet, 315k, 406k fire infused. If I slot in Concentrated Area, that number goes up a lot. But honestly, you don't really need to make this swap. The only time I'll ever swap in Concentrated Area is if I'm fighting Uber Arbiter. Other than that, if I'm doing like T4 Xesht or other bosses, like, you don't need to swap this in. The damage is so good here. I'm still killing T4 Xesht with Spell Cascade in like 1 second or less. So it's really not necessary to get even more damage out of this. Elemental Invocation. This is the skill that makes this build really fun. It also really helps a lot with clear. Sometimes Spark can be a little bit unreliable. It gets stuck on, it doesn't go around corners, or if an enemy is on the other side of a gap or something, it won't hit them. But if you have Elemental Invocation here, slotted with one of these 3 skills, either Arc, Frostbolt, or Fireball, all 3 will go over gaps and kill enemies. So it's really nice for that. And you can get a lot of triggers on this. You can trigger these spells anywhere from 5 to 7 times. Arc and Fireball you can cast 5 times at once. Frostbolt you can cast up to 7 times in one single cast, which is going to give you just a ton of Frostbolts and kill a bunch of enemies. It's really nice. The damage on Arc is not super high, but as you can see, when it's lightning infused, it does 200% more damage and chains 6 additional times. So we're going to be relying on lightning infusions to really boost the damage of Arc here. So Arc is going to be slotted in. Since there are 3 setups and 3 different skills that I use that I just kind of swap between random, like whenever I just feel like it, I'll kind of go over the 3 different ways you can play this. So Arc I have slotted in with Sion's Temper to give it additional projectiles that fire in a circle. This is much better than Nova projectiles. I've tried both. This is going to give you way more projectiles, and their damage stays the same. Whereas with Nova projectiles, it dramatically reduces the damage they do to get those additional projectiles. These projectiles do the same damage, and you get more of them, so it's a win-win. Elemental Focus is just additional damage. Rakiata's Flow I have slotted in here since I don't have lightning penetration on the build, so this takes care of that. And then got Lightning Mastery as well. For the Fireball setup, if I want to switch to Fireball, all I do is switch out Arc for Fireball and swap out Lightning Mastery for Fork. Fork is really nice with Fireball, gives it extra projectiles as well. Then if I want to switch to Frostbolt, I will swap out Fireball, switch in Frostbolt, and I will swap out Rakiata's Flow for Projectile Acceleration. Projectile Acceleration is really nice for this one because Frostbolts can be pretty slow, so this helps speed them up a lot and boost their damage a little bit as well. So this feels really nice with this setup here. You get tons of Frostbolts, dealing a ton of damage, covering the entire screen. It's really nice. Okay, so that's the Elemental Invocation setup. I also have, I'm going to come back to Elemental Weakness, but Siphon Elements. So these kind of work together, right? We have Elemental Invocation, Cast on Crit, and Siphon Elements. Three Spirit Reservation skills here. Siphon Elements helps boost the damage of our Spark by cold infusing it. our Comets are going to get fire infused, right, boosting our damage. And when we have, let's say, we have Arc slotted back in here, Arc does more damage when lightning infused. Fireball rather, gets additional projectiles when fire infused. So consumes a fire infusion to launch a ring of smaller firebolts. It's going to give us a lot more projectiles, cover the screen a little bit better, give better clear. So we're really trying to take advantage of as many infusions as we can with this build. So Siphon Elements gives those infusions for free. As long as we are freezing or shocking targets, which we're doing constantly with our really high damage Spark, our Cold Spark, we are constantly freezing enemies, we're constantly gaining energy from this, so that it feels really nice to have a pretty constant uptime on infusions on this build. And then I've got Blink in here as well. I don't use this all the time. I kind of usually just use this if I'm doing like Sekimas, or if I'm doing maps that are not really juiced very heavily and I just want to get through them quickly. Sometimes I'll swap off Elemental Invocation and turn Blink on. Yeah, so that's kind of the skill gems, how I'm running things. One thing I do want to talk about before I get into the gearing is spirit requirements for this build. So, like I said, I'm using primarily the main setup is Cast on Crit, Elemental Invocation, and Siphon Elements. These three have pretty high spirit requirements. You need Cast on Crit with the extra quality on it is going to be like 91 spirit typically. Elemental Invocation is 60 spirit, and Siphon Elements is 30 spirit. So generally we would need, 181 spirit to run this. But if you look at my spirit here, I only have 160 spirit, and I still have 11 left over with all three on. So you could run this by getting like spirit on your amulet and your body armor, but I opted to go with a body armor that doesn't have spirit, so that way I could squeeze out more energy shield. Energy shield is going to benefit us more because we have the Crimson Power Ascendancy node that gives us more life based on our energy shield, and that's going to be giving us more damage because of our Wrathpith Globe. So more damage, more survivability by having more energy shield on our body armor feels really nice. So definitely worth trying to get a body armor that doesn't have spirit and just get spirit on your amulet instead. So the way that I'm getting that extra, the way I'm able to slot all three of those skills in without using, without having that extra spirit on my body armor is going to be this node right here on the skill tree. Meta skills have 20% increased reservation efficiency. That, along with Diala's Desire, which I have slotted into Cast on Crit, since that both increases the quality of Cast on Crit, which reduces its reservation, and this has a reservation multiplier of 90%, both of those things are going to reduce how much spirit we need to run this. So if I turn these off real quick, you'll see Cast on Crit is the only thing I have on right now, and it only takes 69 spirit. Nice. Elemental Invocation only takes 50, and Siphon Elements is still 30. So we're able to get all three of these on there. You would actually be able to run this with you see I still have 11 spirit left over. You would be able to run this with a 50 spirit amulet. So if you didn't want to have spirit as the implicit, you could get max life as the implicit, and you could still run this, but you would not be able to run Blink. So if you want to run Blink on this build, you will need a 60 spirit amulet, because as you can see here, with Blink on, I only have 1 spirit left over. So you need about 60 spirit on your amulet to make this work. Okay, so I'll go over the rest of the gearing real quick. Wand, most important thing to look for here is level of all spell skills. Since we are a multi-elemental build, having levels of all spell skills is going to boost our damage across the different skills that we're using. And then I do recommend prioritizing percent increased damage over gain as extra damage on your prefixes, just because the percent increases are going to work multiplicatively to scale your damage with the gain is extra physical on Atalui's Bloodletting. If you were to get gain as extra damage on your wand, my understanding is those work additively. The percent increase is applied first, and then the gain as extra is applied after. So if you're increasing the damage first, then that gain as extra is going to be giving you extra damage based on a higher base number. So it's generally better to have percent increased damage on your wand here. And you probably don't need a 3-socket one here. This was very expensive. You could run this build with probably even 1 socket, just +5 to all spell skills on your wand. But obviously, the more level of spell skills you get here, you're going to be doing a lot more damage if you have more skills here. Wrathpith Globe, definitely, show me a Blood Mage build that doesn't use Wrathpith Globe at this point, right? Definitely need this on the build. This is our damage, one of our main damage scalers. Scales our damage based on how much life we have. Scales our crit based on how much life we have. You don't need a corrupted one. You could just go with an uncorrupted Wrathpith. You want to make sure you have at least, if you are going to get a corrupted one, make sure it has at least 6% additional spell cost and 6% increased crit chance. That's the one stat you would want to look for if you want to get an overrolled Wrathpith, would be 6% increased crit chance per 100 maximum life. You don't need the extra spell damage per life. It gets pretty expensive to look for ones that are overrolled like this one here. This one was like 300 divines. So you can definitely use a much, much cheaper Wrathpith and still get a lot of bang for your buck out of it. Okay, the other unique on the build that we need to take into account is Atziri's Acuity. This one's really important. It gives us instant life leech based on our critical hits. And since our crit chance on the build, if I pull up Spark here, is 98%, you want to get this number as close to 100% as possible. So 98% works out perfectly here. When I'm mapping, I've got the Rite of Passage Bear Charm, which gives us additional life. And then because our life scales our crit chance, basically in mapping, we're always going to be at 100% crit chance and have that additional damage from the Spirit of the Bear. So Atziri's Acuity, like I said, gives us instant life leech based on our critical hits. And because of our ascendancy, we are getting spell leech as life. So that's giving us a ton of life leech. So how we're surviving on this build is going to be, we are using the Undying Hate Tech Rod Jewel. That gives us the Sacrifice of Blood Keystone. That gives us life regeneration based on how much life we spend. So this is going to be a huge part of our survivability here. We're going to be casting a lot of skills on this build, from casting Spark, plus the cast on crit Comets coming down, plus the Elemental Invocation triggering multiple skills at once. That's going to cause us to be spending a lot of life and also getting a lot of regeneration out of it, which is going to really help us survive. That paired with the instant leech we get from Atziri's Acuity, blood magic, and then of course the life remnants, we're going to be regenerating a ton of life. We also have the Blood of the Warrior Flask, which also gives us life damage taken recouped as life. So we're getting extra life regeneration from that. And the Spirit of the Bear also gives us 20% reduced damage taken. So it gives us a flat damage reduction. So as long as we're casting skills on this build, we are basically unkillable. We also have the, just to add even more tankiness to the build, Zealot's Oath. Since we are a hybrid life energy shield build, all the extra life regeneration we get from spending life on skills is going to get applied to our energy shield. You'll notice when I'm in my showcase at the beginning of the video and stuff, when I'm mapping, my energy shield almost never goes down. You'll see my life going up and down a lot, but my energy shield stays topped off. That's because that constant regeneration being applied to energy shield feels really, really nice for mapping. I almost never die on this character. I usually only ever die if I do something stupid like sprint into a pack of mobs because I'm trying to go too fast and I get knocked down. Even then, I usually can survive it, but in really juiced maps, sometimes they'll take me out. So just got to be careful not to get knocked down, which is pretty much true for any character. So back to my gear. So Ethereal's Cutie, gotta have that. Worth getting a 2-socket one. So you can sock it in. I usually recommend putting in increased cast speed here, but I put in 1 life rune because I wanted to hit that 4,300 life breakpoint for additional damage and crit chance from Wrathbith. I also have a Headhunter on here. This is not essential for the build, but if you can afford it, definitely get a Headhunter. It's going to dramatically improve your clear ability. It's going to make you a lot faster going through maps because you get a lot of buffs that give you, movement speed, attack speed, or cast speed, and sometimes you'll be like teleporting around. It feels really nice to use Headhunter. It's also just really fun. It does make balancing your resistances a little bit more challenging though, so definitely take that into account if you're going to use one of these. As for the amulet, we want one, ideally, most importantly, +3 to level of all spell skills and spirit. So those are the 2 must-haves. You can get a 50 spirit amulet, in which case you could swap out the implicit for one with like life or strength. You want max life on this. Percent increased max life would be ideal instead of spell damage, but spell damage is also nice here. And then for the suffixes, all spell skills, crit chance, crit bonus is ideal. You could also get cast speed, and it's a little bit cheaper. So you can play around with that. But any of those stats would be nice to have on an amulet. And then I also have it anointed with Cooked, just to give it some additional critical damage bonus here. The rest of our gear, body armor, high ES body armor with resistances and attributes. Helmet, you want to get crit chance on it, high life, and rarity and resistances. Rings, you want to get life, rarity, resistances. If you can get it, maybe cold damage, like I've got on this one here. So life, rarity, resistances, cold damage. This is kind of ideal. And then boots, movement speed, rarity, life, resistances. 50% movement speed boots feels really nice on this build because we're not getting a lot of movement speed from other sources. So definitely, if you can slot this in, if you can afford it, get at least 50% movement speed boots. But you can definitely play this build with less movement speed. It'll just be slower. All right, and as for the passive tree, it's a pretty simple tree. Since we are a life ES hybrid build, just want to grab some energy shields. So start by grabbing energy shield, come up, grab some crit, come up through here, grab the jewel slot, and this is where I'm putting the Undying Hate. Didn't really need anything else in this area, so that seemed like a good spot for it. Grab some cold nodes up here, cold skills, cold penetration, some energy shield, intelligence. This is an important node, gives us projectile speed, which helps our spark and our frostbolts when we use that. Some meta energy nodes help our comets cast more often. We've got some crit nodes, more crit, a little bit more energy shield here. On this side of the tree here, we are getting storm charged for some extra crit, some damage, extra elemental damage there. Zealot's Oath, once again, really important, helps us get our energy shield back. We've got blood magic here, really important to have blood magic. You need everything to be costing life to help with regeneration. And then more crit nodes here. And then we've also got this keystone here, which is a pretty important one and something that I was kind of avoiding at first. But once I slotted this in, it actually really helped to bring this build to the next level. And that's just because it helps us get all of the elemental infusions. Normally, you would only be getting cold and lightning infusions, and this allows us to get fire infusions as well. With how often we're killing things, how quickly we're killing things, we have a pretty constant uptime on all 3 infusions. which means we're boosting our spark because that benefits from cold infusions. We're boosting our Comet, which benefits from fire infusions. Arc benefits from lightning infusions. Fireball also benefits from fire infusions. So getting all those extra infusions is pretty amazing. It really makes this build a lot more powerful. And then for the jewel slots, we've of course got this Megalomaniac that gives us efficient inscriptions, Eldritch Will, and then Spray and Pray, which is really nice. This was a really expensive Megalo. If you are going to get a Megalomaniac, I would recommend just focus getting efficient inscriptions, most importantly. All the other things are just nice to haves. Eldritch Will, however, I would probably path to if you can't get it on a Megalomaniac. It's worth pathing to this node just because it's pretty powerful. As for the other jewels, we're just prioritizing for the prefixes, damage penetrates cold resistance, and then you can either go for energy shield or spell damage here. So this one I've got spell damage, this one I've got energy shield. Then you also want to get critical damage bonus, and if you need it, crit chance. So that's what I'm getting on all of these jewels here. Cold penetration, damage bonus, crit bonus, cold damage, crit bonus, crit chance. So yeah, those are kind of what you're looking for in terms of the jewels. So that is the build. That's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. If you guys, have any questions about how the build works or anything like that, I've also got that written guide I mentioned before down in the description. So check that out on Mobalytics. But if you have any other questions, feel free to drop a comment. I can answer any questions you guys have on the build here. And yeah, I will leave you guys with a little mapping showcase where I ran a 150% delirious T15 naturally overrun by the abyss map that has that mod where you have increased difficulty for each abyss closed in that pit. It's a really juicy map, so you guys can see how this performs in really juiced content. As you can see, I'm able to clear it pretty easily. So I'll leave you with that, and see you guys in the next video. Peace.